What's up, YouTube? I'm the Sonoran Desert Grower. I have typed in rainwater harvesting food forest. So we're gonna keep going with this theme. There's an hour-long documentary, which I'm not gonna, it's too long for this. Let's check this out. I'm just going down what came up.
Hello everyone, this is Joe Brewer here at Bio Parque Moncora in Barrio Chara, Colombia. And a lot of you have been asking about
Okay, so first thing I'm noticing is there's some nice walls here made with rock. So this is already, there's already some rainwater harvesting happening here. And there's probably gonna be a lot of talking. So let's get to it.
tanks and a gutter, and I'll show you how it works. So if you look here, we have a nice, basically 3 meter by 4 meter roof made with corrugated steel. And it's at a very slight angle downhill. So when the rain comes, it will wash downhill and come into this gutter. This gutter that we had handmade by a local metal worker. And then the water that enters this canal, very simple, will come into a pipe. And the pipes go over, as you can see, right here, the pipes come over and go directly into one of these 1,000-liter tanks. So the water will come in to fill that tank. And because the water is coming in from the top.
Okay, so again, this is an area that gets rain, and they're still thinking about how to harvest rainwater. So there's really no excuses if you're in Arizona or in the drylands to not be doing the first step, which is harvesting rainwater.
Of that tank, I'll show you over here. It's sort of hard to see because I have some tools in the way, but these two tanks are connected by this white pipe.
This pipe right here. So they're daisy chained. So they're gonna both fill up at an even rate.
That PVC pipe you can see under the metal. And so as that tank starts to fill, the water also flows slightly downhill into this other 1,000-liter tank. And then the two tanks will fill simultaneously. And this piece of PVC pipe has a little faucet on it, a little spigot where you can attach the hose that will allow you to take water and fill a bucket or take it around to water things. So as we have this whole area we've cleared where we've started planting a little bit, but we didn't want to plant too much because as soon as the dry season begins, we didn't have water storage on site. But now with this beautiful system here,
Again, they're thinking about the rainwater for the plants that they want to grow. And this is a necessary investment and infrastructure build that they needed to do in order to plant the plants that they want to grow. And they're in an area where they get a lot of water. Like you can just look. This is not the drylands.
with the roof running into the gutter, the pipe that runs into the top tank, the uphill tank, it's very slightly more uphill than the other one, and then the little pipe that's connecting them underneath will fill both tanks. And we'll have storage of 2,000 liters of water, which will allow us during the dry season where it might go several weeks or a month, sometimes 2 months without rain during the dry season here, we'll have the storage of water to be able to fill buckets and go and water all of the plants. So this is how we have resilience in time for planting so that as soon as these are filled, and by the way, we just finished this construction a few minutes ago, and those are rain clouds over there. So with luck, we'll get our first batch of harvested rainwater.
The land is blessing them, right? It's just you're always winning. You're always gonna be winning when you're harvesting rainwater.
In about an hour. And so this is our system. This is a 2,000 liter, 2-tank system built with a sheet metal roof and a gutter. And so you can see how simple this is. And the idea is this system will store rainwater for us to use whenever we need it, whereas this other system, the one that has the contour swale going into the retention pond, is about diverting rainwater from the road and absorbing it into the ground. So that's not for storage for us to be able to gather water that we use for the trees. It's for raising the water.
So the rainwater harvesting with tanks is considered active rainwater harvesting because it requires you to move and make use of the water, of the rainwater. When you're moving it through the landscape, it is considered passive rainwater harvesting because you're passively harvesting the rainwater as you move it throughout the site. So again, this is step one. This is the foundation for them, and they're going to have a successful garden because they are feeding it, they're planting the rain from the street. So the run on water that typically can be a problem because it can cause a lot of erosion if it is not worked with properly. And not only that, they are also creating rainwater harvesting infrastructure for water storage during the dry months so that they can get through the drought and into the rainy season without a problem.
Table and accelerating the growth of the plants that are planted downhill of this retention pond. So we've built both systems as part of the landscape structure of this food forest. So now that we have these in place, we will have acceleration of growth by putting water into the ground through our contour swale and retention pond.
Okay, so this is real food forest theory in practice by people that get it, right? And this is what's kind of lacking in Arizona is there's no rainwater harvesting happening at all. And you can see that someone in a wetter environment than us is doing a lot more work to establish a real food forest.
And we will have rainwater harvesting with 2,000 liters of storage with a sheet metal roof and a gutter. So that is our rainwater harvesting system. I'm very happy with it because this means we now can begin planting in earnest, and we could plant 100 trees or more if we wanted to and water them regularly during the dry season with 2,000 liters of water storage. And anytime it rains, we recover some of that lost storage that we've been using. So there's just one really simple element of our food forest system, but it's fundamental to the continuity of our work across the dry season in this tropical dry forest ecosystem that has a noteworthy period of extensive rain and extensive dry period every year. So I hope this inspires you to build your own rainwater.
Okay, that was perfect. That was perfect. This guy's getting a subscribe and a thumbs up. There we go. Yes, that was perfectly said. He's in a tropical area that has dry spells, so he needs to be able to make it through the dry spells to the wet season. And he's able to fill up 1,000 liter tanks during the wet times, and he can slowly dole that out during the dry times. And you can tell that rainwater harvesting is kind of the foundation that they're using to build their food forest. And this is what's missing in Arizona. How long is this one?
I'm here with Ron McCord in San Diego, California, and he's going to show us how he turned his neglected patch of desert into a thriving food forest.
So 6 years ago, the land was bare, scraped with a bulldozer, very little life in the soil.
Yeah, so this is like a perfect, I kind of like it when the landscape is bare and you're going in there as a permaculture designer because this is easier to work with than having a bunch of established fruit trees and they might not be in the right spot in terms of how the water's moving through the site. So to me, this is kind of an ideal situation if you're trying to find a property to do some permaculture at.
No worms and almost no food being produced on site. After 6 years of working the earth, we have an abundance of food, we're sharing with our community, and we're creating habitat for local wildlife.
So in front of us is tree collards, and this is actually a perennial collard. And I'm curious, how old is this patch? How old is this plant we're in?
It's about 4 years old, and it's probably created 10 times this amount of food that we see here.
So this is a 4-year-old collard plant. That's pretty cool. So I lived in San Diego for about 5 years.
Collards are super productive, and if you're in temperate climates, they will overwinter fine.
And I know that San Diego is a desert, and I see bananas growing here. So do these actually produce bananas?
Yeah, we get about 3 to 5 racks of bananas a year just off of this stand of bananas here.
Bananas in the desert.
5 years ago, we planted this.
So there's if you're by the ocean, you can grow avocados, bananas, some of these more like mangoes, some of these more tropical plants because there's the moisture in the air. But out here in Arizona, I would not recommend it. You can do it, but all the bananas I've seen are kind of sad and struggling, and same thing with a lot of the mangoes. It really seems to be that if you're a green thumb, you can kind of make it work, and if you're not, you're gonna have a hard time.
Mulberry. It was in a 1-gallon pot, maybe 2 feet tall, and now it's over 20 feet.
And mulberry is one of my favorites because both the mulberries and the leaves are edible, so it's a super productive tree.
So this is the African walnut. It's also called weeping boar bean, and one of its benefits is that it provides canopy for the food forest. This was one of the original trees on the property when we got here.
And in a food forest and in permaculture, every plant has multiple purposes, and this one has a pretty unique one. Ron's gonna help me out. So this produces an incredible amount of nectar, which is enjoyable for us, but it's great for the bees as well.
Whew. Okay, so I don't know if you're from San Diego, comment down below. Are these drought tolerant plants? Are these on drip irrigation? Like what's going on here? They're not really talking about the rainwater harvesting.
So I'm all sticky from the last plant still, the African walnut, and beneficial to the other species that we share the earth with. And what do we have here?
Here we have popcorn cassia, which is a nitrogen fixer. It's we use for chop and drop for bringing fertility to the soil, and it's the host plant for the cloudless sulfur butterfly.
Plus, it gets the name popcorn cassia because it smells like buttered popcorn.
Here we have bouillon bush. It gets its name because it literally smells and tastes like bouillon cubes.
That's a first for me.
So again, I'm wondering if these are native plants to San Diego or California, or what the deal is here. They do look like they're living without supplemental irrigation.
Here is Mexican honeysuckle.
So Mexican honeysuckle is a drought tolerant plant, and it can thrive in the proper spot in a rainwater harvesting basin.
And the leaves can be boiled down to make an indigo blue dye.
And you can suckle on the flowers.
Here we have the macadamia nut tree. It was one of the only trees on the property when we moved here. It produces about 600 pounds of macadamias a year, and it always has fruit or flowers year-round. So here we have a Fuerte avocado. When we moved onto the property, it wasn't producing at all. It took about 3 years, but now we're getting up to 200 pounds of avocados a year.
If you're in Arizona, you're getting 200 pounds of avocados a year. Put a comment down in the comment section below. I have not seen avocados produce anything of note in Arizona. I know people are adamant about growing them here, but it just seems that we don't have enough moisture in the air to pull it off.
Here from this tree alone.
So all of this abundance that you see that's been created over the last 6 years, all of the food, all of the medicine, all of the plants that are beneficial to other insects and animals. All of the plants here are made possible through food waste, mulch, and harvesting rainwater.
We've used no additional fertilizer for any of the plants on the.
All right, so they're getting into it right now, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it. They're talking about compost, rainwater harvesting, beneficial plants for beneficial insects.
Property. It's all made using bokashi food waste and local arborist waste. 100% of the food waste produced on site goes back into our soil. We also get food waste from the local community that goes back into the site here.
So that's keeping all of this food waste out of the landfill, emitting methane, and instead turning it into soil.
Which turns into food for us to eat.
And the other ingredient is mulch. Tell us a little bit about that.
So there's multiple sources of mulch that we get here in the city. One is the local arborists. They produce all of the waste from the tree systems, and that would otherwise go to methane digesters or local compost producers, but we try and get it fresh here on site so it can go straight back into the soil.
Today, most houses are designed to actually flow the water away from the land.
That's a major problem we have here in Arizona. It's all designed to put the water into the street.
But here on Ron's property, his job is to keep all of the water on the property.
Yeah, so first we use the roof and the downspouts to draw water into the grow zones. We also use terraces and swells to direct water into the key planting areas.
So virtually every drop of water that falls on this property stays on this property, right?
Yes.
But you've also come up with a really creative way to get more water onto this land, right?
Yes. Our house is strategically placed where the runoff from the street can be directed onto the property, so we get almost double the water.
I've done the same thing. I've have tapped into the street run-on to harvest massive amounts of rainwater when it rains.
That we would normally get in some areas where we grow our plants.
That's how Ron worked with this neglected plot of land and turned it into the abundant food forest that you see today. So Ron, when you got started with this, did you know that you could do this?
Not at all. I had a little garden. We moved here, and watching videos like this inspired me to try some things and learn as I went, and now look where I am today.
So Ron is proof that with some hard work and dedication, the power is in our hands to regenerate our soil and our earth. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Again, the power of rainwater harvesting is fundamental to your success. It's kind of the engine that moves the vehicle. The step one that allows the form to have function. And if you're going into a project thinking about harvesting rainwater and planting the rain from the get-go, you're going to be very successful. And you're going to build a system that can survive a mega drought. We're going to call it a day for this one, for this reaction video. And we're going to call this series the Water Defender series. We're going to try to find videos of folks that are doing good work and that are harvesting rainwater and have a better understanding of what establishing a food forest actually looks like when you're doing it properly. And that way we can kind of contrast it to the what we're seeing here in Arizona, what I've been seeing here in Arizona for over a decade now. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share the video with someone that might enjoy this content. If you want to support my work, consider joining my Patreon at www.patreon.com/thesonoran Desert Grower. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.